Hello and welcome to another episode of Dialogue Tree. I am joined, as always, by Daniel Padilla.
Good evening, everyone. Pleasure to be here.
And for the first time, beloved American national treasure Kyle Massey is on the show.
Thanks for having me, you guys. Happy to be here.
You may remember him from his work in Corey in the House. And That's his supporting role on That's So Raven, yes.
Hell yeah. How are you doing, dog?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm just I'm a little upset though. I gotta be honest.
Why are you upset, dog?
Because the That's So Raven and Corey in the House credits, those are my most well-known credits, but recently I've actually done some work on the remake of Mulan. And I've been pretty prolific in the Disney remake scene. So a little ashamed you guys didn't do your fucking research, but
Well, dude, to be fair, I am trying to stay as far away as possible from any and all Disney remakes.
I'm not sure anyone has seen those films, so
I'm really happy you said that, because Disney is a shitty corporation that no one should be affiliated with, including
I could not agree more, dog. I could not agree more.
They could at least make a new movie.
Yeah, they could have some fucking creativity for the first time in the last 9 years.
For once, right? Yeah, and it's not like any of those remakes are even like original stories anyway. Like they're all like old fairy tales and whatever, just adapted to whatever bullshit.
Exactly, man. They're just recycling all the content they have because they know they can, and people are curious enough to like go pay and see it. You know.
I'm glad you used the word curious, because I would have said people are dumb enough to go see the same movie for like the billionth fucking time.
Well, I think the idea is that you liked it, so then you take like your kids or whatever, because they haven't seen the original Lion King. And then they like see this new Lion King with you for the first time, which is stupid, granted.
All I know is that if I had a child right now, I would take them to go see the new Bad Boys movie coming out in like February of next year.
I know you would.
Before taking them to see fucking Dumbo or whatever.
So I was at the supermarket and they've had a Frozen cereal for like ever since Frozen came out.
The first one?
Whatever, kids will buy it. Yeah.
Oh shit.
But then I'm at the supermarket the other week, and there's a Frozen 2 cereal next to the Frozen cereal. So it's
I don't believe it.
A sequel to the cereal. I'll send you a picture of that on Sunday.
That's excellent. We need to make sure to get that picture onto the Instagram.
It's so stupid.
When you first went into that line of thought, I thought you were talking about like a cereal in the Frozen section of the supermarket.
Oh,
and you got me curious. You got me thinking that there might be a business idea there.
Hey, yeah, we better cut that out before someone hears this and actually steals that a business idea.
No one's hearing this.
You know, fucking YouTube audiences, they'll take any fucking idea you have.
Yeah. They probably have drones just like scraping audio for anyone to say anything remotely creative.
Including from the most popular podcast on YouTube.
Hell yeah.
Exactly.
Matthew Peterson.
Shout out to my favorite podcast, Dialogue Tree.
What's up?
How's your life been?
Listen, I did not have a lot planned to talk about before we started this because it was a little impromptu, but
yeah,
there's one thing I specifically want to talk about, and if it's the only thing I say for the rest of the episode, I will still be satisfied. So,
do you want to say that before you want to talk about that before you update us on how your life is going? Because that's the fucking question.
This is pretty much the same thing, actually. Okay. If you fucking listen.
Okay, sure.
Let's hear it, man. Spill it.
So every morning, before I wake up for real, I wake up at like 5 a.m. and I drink some water and I check my phone and then I go back to sleep.
I think I know where this is going. And this is
a couple days ago, I woke up and I could have sworn I saw this, like, someone sent me a picture of like it was like an angry Christmas tree and he was like in a Terminator pose and he was like stomping through a mall. But when I woke up, I couldn't find it. And I asked in the group chat, I said, did anyone send this angry Terminator picture? And everyone says no. Daniel says, oh, I would like to see that. So I'm like, maybe Owen sent it to me. So I call Owen. He's like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, okay, I must have just imagined this weird picture. I must have dreamed it. 3 days later, I'm going through my images and I see it. And it's saved in the WhatsApp folder. And I'm like, holy shit, it was in the group chat. So I go into the group chat and I don't see it. I go back into the images. I find the two images that, are on each side of it, so I get a time frame. I go in the group chat, and there's nothing between those two images. I'm thinking, who on WhatsApp? Who else would have sent me this picture? And I go back into my history with Daniel that I didn't check because he specifically said he didn't send this image. And it's right there from 3 days ago. I knew I wasn't crazy, man.
Dude,
it's just the way he described it is not at all the way that I would have described it, you know? So it's just, I think you described it exactly.
I think I just called it like a Christmas tree Terminator with the boxing gloves and boots.
Oh, yeah. So that 100% threw me off.
Well, see, I guess the thing is he doesn't have a face, but he has like a very aggressive stance. You know,
Yeah.
He's like walking very angrily.
But he doesn't have, I'll send it to the group chat right now. He doesn't have boxing gloves, though.
I know. Well, I fell asleep immediately after looking at this image.
Yeah.
So
that was fucking funny, though. That was fucking funny. That's a good story to bring up.
It was such a revelation to just like out of the corner of my eye, I saw it. This image I've been looking for 3 days. It was on my phone.
And I love that it took you that long.
That's all I wanted to talk about. That Daniel denied sending it.
Excellent. No, and I apologize, man. I apologize if that caused you any distress. Honest to God, I did not know what you were talking about with the way you described it. Otherwise, I would have confessed.
I forgive you.
Thank you, dude. Kyle, what's good with you, dog?
I mean, I don't forgive you, but I've been super busy.
No shit.
I don't know how much detail I'm supposed to go into, but
as much detail as you fucking want, dog.
I was living in Hong Kong until about 2 months ago. Actually, about 2.5, 3 months ago, and that was awesome. And like I was teaching out there. I was teaching like primary school age kids, and then once the protest started, I had a few local friends who joined the protests, and then I felt compelled for multiple reasons to also join. So from the start of the protest until I left, I was very actively involved. Then I had to come back for family reasons, and so I've been doing like a couple different things to try and help the protesters from here. I've been going around giving different presentations to like schools and libraries to inform people about like what's happening over there. And then I'm also working on I'm working with a friend who's still in Hong Kong to edit down this book that is based on it's technically supposed to be like a theory guide for how societies that are considered a dictatorship can transition to a democracy, and how to enact that transition primarily through like nonviolent political defiance, like strikes and boycotts, and not just like clashing in the streets.
That's really interesting, dude.
Yeah, I've been working on those two things. I'm also working at a museum now, an art museum.
No shit, where?
It's the like a Cape Cod Museum of Art.
Okay.
I'm like doing online work for them, which is pretty mindless, but pays the metaphorical bills. And then I've also got involved, last thing I promise, with my local chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. And I went in and I had like a base understanding of socialism, but I've been reading up more about it. And it actually seems pretty fucking cool. And capitalism is incredibly broken.
Yeah. And damaging.
Yeah. They've been around for the past couple years, but they haven't really done too much. So I've been trying to like push them to be more like active in the community. And so I just organized a food drive that's happening soon. I'm going to just start tabling for that outside of like supermarkets and stuff. And then there's also like a movie night, and we're going to start campaigning for Bernie and tons of shit.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, dude, it's been busy. I'm trying to go back to Hong Kong because I would love to be back.
If you were to go back, when would that be by? How's the process looking like?
It's kind of hard to say right now. I submitted an application to a graduate like teaching program at a university there, and I should be hearing from them within 5 days, hopefully.
Sweet, dude. That would be for you to like go to school?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'd be teaching and studying out there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
excellent, man.
So I'd get my degree, and that would be sick. And
Right.
but it also depends on like how the current situation kind of progresses. Because if it gets worse and like China rolls in the tanks and the military, then
Yeesh.
I will probably not.
Right.
Probably not. But it's a very kind of delicate situation, so it could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, man, it's been occupying like 80. I mean, it's gone down a bit since I've gotten involved with like local organizing efforts, but it still occupies, I would say, at least like 60% of my mind time every day.
Yeah. And about you giving presentations at like local schools and whatever, how do you go about like scheduling those or programming them? Like, how do you get involved?
Well, for the libraries, I basically found a list of all of the libraries within like a 20-ish, or I don't know, maybe within like a 30-mile radius, and then just like emailed all of them. And then I did the
Okay.
same thing for middle and high school. The response has been not fantastic. It
Mhm.
could be better. But I've given like maybe a half dozen presentations, and I have a few lined up in the next couple months. I also might be presenting at our former place of study.
Ooh.
No way,
So
dude.
that's exciting. Yeah, dude, they might pay me to like go up there and present.
That's sick, man.
So that'd be sick. And then I'm also thinking of extending into the Boston area in the new year.
Yeah.
And team up with the Boston for Hong Kong group there and do some different presentations at universities and whatnot.
Right. That's excellent, dude. It's
Yeah,
cool that
that's
you
cool.
were. It's cool that you're like so involved with that. I guess just another question that I might have is how informed are people on this issue that you've noticed?
I mean, people have they've seen things on the news, and like the news will cover certain, I don't know if highlights is the most appropriate word, but like certain big things that happen, but they seem to miss a lot of it. So like people have an
Right.
idea of what's going on, but like they don't know what the 5 demands are that the protests are asking for, like why exactly they're fighting, or what recent kind of tragedies have happened. So
Right.
people seem to have like a broad idea of what's happening, but I think overall it's just not on a lot of people's radars.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. I mean, now, especially like, I don't know, I kind of think of it as, I feel like the Hong Kong protests sparked a little bit of a, almost like an Arab Spring, not in terms of like the region, but in terms of just protests have been breaking out like everywhere.
All over the place. Yeah.
And unless they were happening before and the news just didn't, I mean, of course they were happening before, but
Yeah.
it seemed like there have been a lot of protests that have broken out really recently, like within a short period of time of each other.
Right.
So it's got global effects without a doubt.
Yeah.
Even here, man. Even here, a couple months ago, I would say the president's brother, our current president's brother, he was condemned to prison for being involved in drug trafficking.
Oh yeah.
And that, because people, first of all, people don't approve of our president pretty generally. There's a lot of shit going on, right? He's on his second term, which right off the bat should be illegal. Like if you look into like the first few pages of our constitution, it says there very clearly that the presidents are only supposed to serve for 1 term. But because his party has pretty much controlled the entire Congress, basically, he was able to just do whatever the fuck he wanted. Elections were a shit show. He was losing the election. And then I think you might have been around still at Clark when this was happening. I think I might have told you briefly about it. This was back in November 2017. Elections happened. He was losing to, the opposition candidate. And then out of nowhere in the electoral college, the lights went off, like power went out. And it came back after like an hour or a couple hours. And the tendencies just switched in favor of him in ways that are statistically like impossible,
Dude, what?
Like, yeah. And so he's our president. And people have been protesting against him for the longest of times now, but after the whole thing with his brother, he was tried in New York and then he was found guilty, and people went crazy about that. But the issue is that that shit here is weird because it only lasts for very brief, you know what I mean? Like people will go out and take the streets like for the good of like 2 weeks, and then people will just sort of like forget about it, right? Like there hasn't really been any kind of protest stuff since like mid-October or whatever, you know, and now everyone's just like in the whole Christmas craze, and it seems generally that people have kind of forgotten about it.
It seems like how everything is these days. There's so much stuff you get exposed to that if you're not like constantly being fed information on something every day, you don't think about it.
It's like the 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently for some specific reason that I cannot remember right now. Maybe it'll pop back up and I'll bring it up.
What is Honduras's history with like protests and civil resistance? Like, is there much of a foundation of one? Like, has there been a lot of that in its history, or not so much?
Not so much, dude. There's been coup d'etats and everything, but like most of them are, you know, it's pretty general knowledge that most of them are fueled by, you know, U.S. Occupation and shit like that, like United States influence and whatever. Is never, as far as I can think, as far as I can remember, it's not like the people. It's not the people who like kind of get the whole movement started, you know?
Yeah. It's not like the general population. It's like people trained by outside actors.
Yeah, basically. And since this dude is in the favor of, you know, the United States because he's like the conservative one, I guess the sort of capitalist one, because all the opposition like lean more towards socialism.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's why, you know, that's what people say, right? That the United States is in support of our current president, and like they prefer to have him rather than the other opposing candidates or whatever.
I gotta say, I'm not surprised. I mean, there have been so many times in history when like there's been a democratically elected or at least democratically desired government that's very left-leaning or socialist. And then the U.S., like a fucking spidey sense goes off, and then they just send in armed militia to fucking overthrow it.
That's exactly what happened when we had the big coup d'etat back in 2009, right? Like the dude who was our current president, he was like buddies with fucking Chavez. And that, I guess, sent off like all the red flags and everything to the U.S. government, and they just kicked them out one morning in June.
It's fucked, man. If capitalism is ever overthrown, I think it's going to be an incredibly messy ordeal.
Yeah,
because like the people in power and like the ruling class are not going to let it happen easily.
Right. They have so much control over a lot of shit that it's just hard to get it to happen.
Exactly. Too much shit. You ask me.
Hold on, guys. I'm getting a phone call. Let me see who it is. Oh my god.
Oh.
It is the hot take alert. Hot take alert. Kyle, you mentioned in our preparation before our conversation that you had a hot take.
I got a little bit of a hot take.
Let's hear it.
All right, we're all ears, dog.
So all right. So I have one word for you. I want you and all the listeners, I want you to close your eyes.
Okay.
I want you to clear your mind so you are staring at like a black abyss of nothingness.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, are you ready?
I'm anxious.
All right. Incest. So here's the thing with incest, man.
Why did I have to close my eyes?
Hold on, just bear with me.
Okay. Should my eyes still be closed? Sorry.
Either way, it's up to you.
Okay.
I just wanted that kind of a shock. So incest, I'm fairly sure, is illegal in most, if not every state. And I think there is a problem with this because I think the main argument, besides like the kind of baseless ones that don't have evidence of like it's wrong and immoral, it's like, all right, well, there's nothing behind that. If you forget those arguments, I think the main argument is that, well, we shouldn't have incest because if two people who are related to each other have a kid, then there's a higher chance of that kid having some sort of disability.
Of course.
But here's the thing. What if you have two relatives who love each other very much in an intimate way that's not typically familial and who want to get married or be together or do whatever they want to do, and they either don't want to have a kid or they want to adopt a kid? Why should we stop those two family members from being together? That's my hot take.
Okay, sorry to supplement this. It is in the U.S. as of 2016 is the most recent thing I can find, legal in about 15 states.
No way.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Okay.
Well, that's a revelation.
And some in New Mexico, it says under certain circumstances. I don't know what that means.
I wonder what the fucking circumstances are.
I know. But I don't see why people shouldn't be allowed to be together if they're not going to like bring a kid into the world who may have a higher chance of having some sort of disability.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not actively creating weird inbred things, then it's not really an issue, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, who's that gonna bother?
The presidential candidate who announces that they are going to nationally legalize incest, they will have my vote. That is my leading issue that so far 0 candidates mentioned.
I think we're a few steps away from that.
I'm waiting eagerly.
Have you had this conversation with anyone before bringing it up here, dog? That's I'm just curious.
I have had it with one person who I cannot remember. So sorry to that person, but I remember talking about it one time.
Yeah.
One time.
But you do get like grooming and shit. Like sometimes there's a weird power dynamic, right?
Yeah, well, I think especially in like Mormon, well, I don't want to specify Mormon, but more, I don't want to say extreme or radical, but like very deeply religious circles, I think sometimes you can see that where it might not be entirely consensual.
Mhm.
And that's a problem.
Oh shit. Okay, yeah, that's that'd be messed up for sure. Yeah, but I mean, I guess you're right, because aren't there like countries and societies where like dudes are allowed to like marry like 7, 8, 9 women like at the same time? So like in terms of like morality and shit like that, how is that any different?
Actually, I think that's Mormon too, anyways, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. I just know that it's a thing, I guess.
Are you asking morally how polygamy is different from incest?
Sort of, right? Like, I'm not asking like the question itself, but just, you know what I mean? Just, yeah, I guess so.
Well, I feel like polygamy is a difficult. Well, because if you marry someone you're related to, that's not automatically considered polygamy. That's just incest. Like if you marry multiple people you're related to,
but I guess my question
then it's
is
both.
I guess the idea that I was trying to go for here is that like, why are people so quick to like judge a dude who marries his sister and not like a dude who has like 7 wives? You know what I mean? Like, why is that more normal? Why is that more normal than like a dude marrying his sister? I guess is what I'm going for.
Yeah, I guess.
I think both situations have pretty heavy stigmas in the U.S., but I get the impression that like polygamy and having multiple partners, specifically a man with multiple wives, is something that's more commonly talked about or is in the zeitgeist or in the media than like a brother marrying a sister or a cousin.
And it doesn't seem to be as frowned upon, I guess, is what I'm trying to say as well, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I have conflicted feelings about polygamy because I feel like in a lot of the context that we see polygamy, it's at least it seems like an unfair like power structure of like this man who's marrying multiple wives, and like there's at least a strong possibility that the wives might not want to be in a polygamous relationship, or there's some sort of strange like undercurrent going on. But I think if you were to take like objectively a polygamous relationship where everyone consented to that and agreed to it, and it was something everyone wanted, I think that's fine. But I think, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think like mainstream media frequently portrays polygamy as like this negative thing that is usually abusive and bad for you that you shouldn't pursue. When if everyone consents to it, then like why not?
Yeah.
Like truly consents to it, is not like blackmailed into consent.
Well, the part of it too is the only place you can go, at least in the US, to be polygamous is to go live in like a farm with like 100 other people and like a cult, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like the existing system and structure don't really have any room for things that don't fit the already existing kind of standards.
Yeah. Cool. Matthew, I don't know. You said you didn't have a hot take before coming into the conversation, but has one, for any, those weird chances that happen in the universe, have one popped up into your head since we started recording?
Yeah, actually. Okay. So it's not really a hot take. It's just kind of a continuation of what we were talking about.
Is it frozen cereal?
No, dude. That's not a hot take. Everyone can agree.
That's a cold take.
A cold take. That is a cold take. That was good. That was good.
I think about the same thing, but with cannibalism.
Oh shit, dude.
Like that it's probably okay if two consenting people want to do that, but there is like the idea that if you allow it, right, then even if you like forbid money being transacted, people will find a way to abuse those laws and like
Monetize
force
it.
people force people into a system of selling their parts, right?
Oh,
And then it's
yeah.
just like less lucrative organ harvesting.
Right.
Although there is already like I think there's already somewhat of a black market for.
Yeah, it is a thing, and at least in Europe, some people have gone to jail for like being on forums. Like someone was,
Sheesh.
I read this story about someone who went on this forum and he agreed to get someone to come to their house, like with the premeditated that he was going to kill them. The person agreed to this because the person wanted to be eaten.
What
So
the
they
hell,
go to the
dude?
house, and then the person actually, I think, committed suicide, and then the guy ate them, and the guy was charged with
Second-degree murder or
something
whatever?
below murder. Yeah, something
Like,
below
yeah,
murder,
fuck.
and he appealed it, and he got charged with full-on murder.
No
So
way,
he's just
dude.
in prison for life. But
So,
there
wait,
is like
so-
a community of people who want to on both sides of this transaction who are interested
Who want
in
to
it.
be eaten and people who want to eat other people?
And if there's a black market, I mean, I don't know. It's a pretty tough thing to regulate.
Yeah. Wow, there really is a market for everything. Holy shit, dude.
I would be down to try human flesh or muscle
Yeah,
or whatever
I'd
if
taste
it
it.
was like prepared the right way. I'm not just gonna eat a fucking raw thigh or something. Like,
Yeah.
I want it to be cooked.
I guess a hot take that I may have that is not really related at all, but kind of. I don't know. I was thinking about this because I saw the other day a car that had a bumper sticker on it that said something like, "I stop for animals." You know what I mean? That was like the bumper sticker.
Mhm.
And now it got me thinking, like, what a weird holier than thou thing to have on your
Yeah.
car, right? Because first of all, veganism or even vegetarianism isn't really a thing here. Like,
Really, no one's vegetarian.
I can't think of a single person in my immediate like social group, whether it be friends of friends or family or friends of family or anything, that is a vegetarian or a vegan here.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they got me thinking, like, whatever, dude, like you'll stop for a dog, but like you'll still eat at Popeyes on whenever, you know what I mean? And eat all the meat and all the beef and all the pork and whatever. So like, what a bullshit sticker to have on your bumper, you know? Where does it stop, right? Like,
Yeah.
this dude says like they'll stop for animals, but like they'll still eat meat for like regular meals all the time. You know what I mean? And it's a thing that I see all the time, like on Facebook, like people sharing, you know, those weird sensationalist articles on Facebook about people who like torture dogs, and then they'll like condemn them, saying like these are assholes, they should be in prison or whatever. But then these are people that I like go to supper with and eat meat with, you know what I mean? So it's just whatever. Like, sure, like I'm not saying that like shedding light on people who like torture animals for whatever is whatever, like it's fine, right? We should call these people out. But like I feel like oftentimes they have like a holier than thou sort of attitude towards a lot of things, right? Regarding dogs and cats specifically, or you know, your more traditionally house pet animals. But then they'll have no discrimination when it comes to like consuming beef or consuming pork or any other kind of meat, you know. And I just think that's like a weird double standard, if you will.
I think that kind of hypocrisy is very common here too, and I think it also turns into a slippery slope of like you'll have someone with that sticker of "I stop for animals," and then it's like, well, you're still eating meat, right? And then you go to the vegetarian. I don't know. I kind of lost my train of thought.
You said
People
something
are-
about vegetarians.
They're like hypocritical assholes most of the time.
At Nick Kirshner.
I mean, speaking of hypocritical assholes, not to completely change the topic, but I think you could very well apply that to, I don't want to say religion because I'm not informed about all religions, but definitely Christianity. There's a lot of hypocritical, what's the word? Not plot holes, loopholes? I don't know. Just a lot of hypocritical shit, like in the Bible, and like especially with not what all priests preach, but I think many, at least within certain sects, like.
Yeah, I mean, it is flawed just from the sense, just from the fact that it's like a human organization, you know, so there's bound to be flaws and there's bound to be like people taking advantage of power and whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you can interpret the Bible to say pretty much anything. It's so long, and it just goes all over the place.
And that's exactly how a lot of like religions have actually started, right? Just like a random dude just comes up with their own interpretation of it, and like,
Yeah,
I guess that's a new religion, right?
And all of a sudden you're the alt-right.
yeah. It's not
Yeah.
like it was in like in English. It's like just people keep changing the translation and
Yeah, true.
like
That
arguing
too.
over it.
Yeah,
Dude, that's the thing, is like with translation text, so many things left out or added, or like connotations can be changed. Like so much can be different from the original and the translated version. I'd
Yeah.
be so curious to get like an accurate, or I don't know. I wish I could understand like the original version of the Bible and compare that to like I think the main one now is like King James.
That's
Or-
popular. Yeah,
that's for the evangelical side, I guess, like the Protestant side of
it's
Christianity.
also for the Nintendo Game Boy.
Oh yeah, that too.
What?
It's a Game Boy game. You can just read the Bible on your original Game Boy.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Damn,
wouldn't
dude,
want
that's
that.
impressive.
Sorry, I got us off track.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, but now I'm just dreaming about Bible games.
Damn it.
No, yeah, I had a topic in mind that I've actually had it in mind for like a long time. It'll be a weird transition though, because we've been sort of like weirdly politically controversial throughout however long we've been recording this.
My bad.
But no. I mean, it's good. It's good. It's not at all like we welcome it for sure. We welcome it. But I was thinking, I don't know if you'd like to talk about this. I suggested this to Matthew like a long time ago. Talking about specific video games that helped us through a specific like weird or hard or whatever weird time in our lives. I have a couple that I could talk about, but I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I could.
I'd have to think about that. I would need a couple minutes.
Well, we'll go first.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew.
For me, I think I would have to say Celeste.
Ooh, good one, dog. Hell
Good
yeah.
call.
Because honestly, I was just like feeling like, what's a good word for it? Disempowered, I guess. Like I was feeling like I didn't have a lot of agency over what I could do. And I was feeling like I wasn't making any progress forward. And I don't know, just playing that game and being able to accomplish something, and like the theme and idea of climbing a mountain and learning to work with yourself, it felt really empowering to me at the time. And it just felt so good whenever I could finish it. I don't know. It's a great game and it really stuck with me.
No, it's a hot fucking game. I only played it for the first time a couple of months ago, and I loved every single bit of it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Did you play the Seasides?
Yeah, I haven't beat them all. They're so hard.
I know, dude. They seem too intense.
I think I'll do it one time though.
I've only played through the main story so far, but I am looking to eventually go into like all the other side stuff and even the downloadable content.
Honestly, I never got the idea of like 100%ing a game, because I never played a game that made me want to 100% it until I played Celeste. Yeah, and I was like, wow, okay, I like kind of get it now, and I'm going to try to do it. I'm slowly working towards it.
They just released a DLC, like a free
Yeah.
DLC
I
update.
love that. That's free. That's so cool.
Damn, Daniel, what about you?
I have a couple. One of them kind of goes nowhere. I guess most recently, with the game that came out in July. Would be Blazing Chrome. I've talked to some degree about how I'm a big fan of running gun games, and so I think Kyle actually sent me information on this game before it was released, which I'm very, very thankful for, because otherwise I don't know that I would have found out about it. But as soon as Kyle sent me information on it, I got really excited for it, and I pre-ordered it and started playing it upon release. It was a weird time in my life because I was just starting my new job, and so my job is in education, and it entails a lot of visiting schools and stuff like that, giving presentations at schools and stuff, and studying a lot of like the products that the company that I work for offers to schools. But I was hired in like May, like the latter end of May too. So a lot of the schools here in Honduras, they go from August through June, were almost on their way out. You know what I mean? Like they were on the verge of closing. And then the schools that go from like February through like November, those had already had like all the services that we offer to them given to them already, you know. So like I came in like a weird point that like I felt like I didn't really have a lot to do. Not only that, but like my job is also remote, you know, like I work from home, and I don't have like a lot of direct contact with my colleagues and stuff. So for a long time I felt like I didn't really know what I was doing. And so back in like July, I was supposed to take this trip to Guatemala to give some presentations on a lot of the material that I had never looked at or no one had ever like shown me. And I got so anxious. I got anxious for a variety of reasons, right? Because first of all, it was my first time presenting. I had never like presented here in Honduras or in my hometown. I had never been evaluated on a presentation or anything before that. So I was anxious about that, first of all. And second of all, I had to like travel and be away from home and to present on stuff that I had never been shown. And I also had to get used to like the dynamic of not being around my coworkers and my colleagues and stuff. So like it felt weird to me at the time to like ask for help, you know, because I've always been, whenever I've had to ask for help, it's been in environments where I've had my colleagues and my coworkers like physically close to me, you know what I mean? So it was a weird dynamic that I wasn't used to. And so I just kind of shut down for like an entire weekend. Turned my phone off so that no one would like reach out to me, and I like pretty much stayed in my room for the entire weekend, and all I did was play fucking Blazing Chrome, which I guess is not like the most responsible way to deal with stuff or the healthiest or whatever. But it was a good fucking game, dude, and I loved it, man, and I love it to this day, and I'll still like try to beat it, and like, you know, with like the highest score to I was even like, because I played it so long and so often during that weekend, I was even in the top 10 leaderboards for, I don't know, I would even say I was in the top 10 for like the best of the first 2 months that the game was out on Switch. So yeah, no, I realized it's not like, eventually things work out, right? Like I eventually turned my phone on and like people scolded me, which I had definitely coming to me, and it was totally fair. But things have definitely like started to look a little better since then. Like I'm a lot better at like requesting assistance to my fellow coworkers who are in different countries, and I've, you know, learned the material a lot better, and I've given, you know what I mean, like I've settled into my job a lot better. Like it's still not necessarily what I want to be doing, but I've settled into it, and like I'm doing the job that I'm supposed to do, at least. So that's that one. I don't know if,
for people who might not be familiar with Blazing Chrome, can you give like a little rundown about what the game is, like in terms of gameplay and story?
Of course, it's a run and gun game in the style of like the classic 16-bit run and gun game, sort of like Contra and maybe even Metal Slug. The influences are definitely there. Even visually, it looks a lot like Contra Hardcore on the Sega Genesis. If you look at it, you'll definitely see the influences. And so visually, right? It's got everything. Like it even like has a look like a very like 80s action movie type vibe to it. And yeah, basically all you do is like you run to the right and you shoot monsters and aliens and stuff like that. And you have your power-ups, you have your lives. And it's a good time. It's like an arcade game, man. It's basically an arcade game. Brazilian developers, which I thought it was really, really interesting. Joy Masher, I believe is what they're called. Really, really interesting that they're Brazilian. And I'm still waiting on the day that they release like a patch for it so that online multiplayer is available so that I can play with my best friends.
Oh, I thought that had come out already.
No, some beta was released for Steam, I believe, but it's still not like a fully fleshed out multiplayer as far as I understand. Okay. Yeah. No, I recommend it to everyone who is like into arcade running gun shooters like that. I think it's a wonderful game. I've had a good time playing it with some friends already. You know, on like couch multiplayer.
That must really like bring about a sense of nostalgia when you play too, if it's so heavily influenced by like Contra.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, right? Like it just reminded me so much of Contra 3, which I really, really, you know, I don't know that I've said this on the pod, but it's definitely one of my absolute favoriteest games ever.
Oh, I'm sure you said that.
Yeah. I have another one that I could talk about. I don't know if Kyle has come up with anything that he wants to share.
I got something I can talk about.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's not particularly related to a specific event or time in my life, but like since I started to game, since I've started the game, I think what's always been there has been the Legend of Zelda. And I feel like that has played such an immense role in my general character, and also like throughout different difficult times in my life. Even if I weren't like actively playing it, I knew I could always go back and like be familiar with the world and like it's obviously it's different from Celeste because like Zelda games aren't going to be like talking about specific like mental illnesses, but I think in a way like you have this guy who's tasked with like basically saving the world from evil, and he's just going around like trying to do these different tasks. Like he has side quests to do, he has these main things to do, like he's trying to live his life while also trying to do this shit. And I feel like on a certain level, um, I could relate to like kind of venturing into the unknown and like just trying to, I don't know, trying to like find some adventure and like take the good and the bad and I don't know, all the general kind of cliche stuff. And like, I don't have any tattoos, but whenever I've considered getting a tattoo, the only thing that has felt worthy enough to me is like a Triforce.
I love that.
It's,
I love that.
I don't know, like it's always been there. And I even like last year, there's this program called NaNoWriMo, which stands for National Novel Writing Month. And
Isn't that November?
You're supposed to like, yeah, it actually just finished this year.
Yeah.
And so last year I did it, and I kind of wrote my own story, and I realized it was I mean, it wasn't based on Zelda, but it had a lot of elements of like this just like normal guy who is living in this community, and then something happened and he goes venture out to like the unknown and all of the I even like there's even like a desert area and a sky area and a forest area. Like that was basically taken straight out of a Zelda game. Because you have all those different ecosystems. But yeah, I feel like the Zelda series has always been there as an inspiration almost.
What I like about this, what I find interesting about the Zelda series, and maybe specifically Ocarina of Time, is that he's just a fucking kid, right? And he doesn't like ask for any of this shit, and then he's just a kid, and he has to go and do it for the sake of the world, you know. And I love that shit. And he like not only is he a kid and who doesn't ask for it, but like he has to like grow up like in a second, right? Like you go into the Temple of Time, and then he just becomes adult Link without living any of his like childhood or whatever. He's just out in this world trying to defeat like the greatest of evils and shit like that. And I've always found that like super, I don't know, just cool and interesting about that game specifically.
And then he finally gets it back, and the poor kid only gets to live for 3 days in like a never-ending nightmare.
Oh yeah, damn, you're right. That's Majora's, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's like officially not canon or something, but
really,
I'm not sure because I never played it. But yeah, that I know that that's him reclaiming his youth or whatever.
Wait, have neither of you guys played Majora's Mask?
No way,
not for more than like an hour.
Ah, fuck, dude. I think Majora's Mask is like it's not on par with Ocarina of Time, but it's up there. Like it's close.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
Okay. I recently played Link's Awakening, which I fucking loved, dude. I fucking loved.
Yeah.
Oh, the new one.
Sort of. Like it's a remake of the old Game Boy one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the update of graphics.
Yeah, that's basically, and that's kind of why it's weird, right? Because it's like it's like a premium price game, and it's pretty much just like a visual update of the original Game Boy game. It doesn't really have a lot added to it, but it's interesting, dude. And I guess I sort of wish that I would have grown up with it, so that I don't know, so that I would have a little bit more of a like nostalgic value towards it. But I played it recently, and I thought it was super, super interesting. Like the whole concept of how he's in a dream, whatever, and like the whole objective of the game is for him to like wake up from his dream, and then like all that entails, right? Because when he wakes up, then the whole world disappears and whatever. It's just a really, really interesting dynamic that doesn't really have a lot to do with like the forces of evil, like Ganon and whatever, you know. But like I don't know, it's a weird sort of like personal stakes, right? Because he's in this world, and then he I don't know, you talk to all these characters who live in this world, and they're all just so happy-go-lucky, and I don't know, it's really, really interesting. I very much enjoyed that game. Yeah, cool.
Did it seem worth the full price tag?
That's the
Or,
one
like,
thing that I can say about it, man. I don't think it is. I think it's definitely worth playing over the Game Boy ones. I understand that the Game Boy is a lot cheaper. You can get it on Virtual Console for like $5 or whatever, but it simplifies a lot of the stuff, right? That the Game Boy only had 2 buttons, so like to equip all the different items you need to use throughout every fucking like temple and whatever, you have to like go into your menu, exit out, then right back, and you have to keep doing that shit. You don't have to do any of that, so it's not like, and it has a lot of like, I guess, quality of life improvements on it, but it's still just like a 10-hour game or whatever. So I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's worth the whole $60, man. I would say if you can find it for like 40, then it's like a no brainer. But I don't think that's the one thing that I would say. I don't think it's worth the whole $60 for it.
That game you let me borrow was fantastic, Daniel, on DS. I don't remember what it's called, but the one where you go paper mode and like,
the Link Between Worlds. I fucking love that game.
That game was awesome.
Good things about that one.
Yeah, you never owned a 3DS, did you, Kyle?
Nah, man. I basically jumped. Well, actually, no. I had never played any handheld Zeldas.
What the hell?
Ever, actually. No.
I
did play.
Yeah.
There's a Zelda on the SNES. I forget
Link
which
to the
one.
Past.
Link to the Past.
Oh fuck! So that's what I've been playing. Yeah, because there's the virtual SNES with the Switch Online subscription.
Yeah.
I've been playing that, and that's a boatload of.
That's a good fucking game. I've not.
That was the first game I ever owned.
Really? Shit.
Yeah, and as someone who grew up playing that, I can say that the Link Between Worlds like weird remake is very transformative. Like it's the exact same map, but it's so different than
an entirely different
the way it plays out on SNES. Yeah, it's totally worth trying once you finish that.
Huh? Like trying the new one, the updated one,
the 3DS.
Well, it's I would say it's
like a sequel
worthy of calling its own game. Yeah.
Damn.
You know how to like, how like certain Zelda games are like sequels to like other specific Zelda games.
Yeah.
So like this like the Link Between Worlds would be like a specific sequel to A Link to the Past, because like the map is still the same, but like the game and the temples and the story is like all different.
Oh man. Okay,
yeah.
I would have to get like an emulator or something.
It's a good fucking game, dude. I would recommend that. That's one of 3 Zelda games that I've finished. I finished Ocarina. I finished A Link Between Worlds and Link's Awakening, but definitely A Link Between Worlds is so much fun, dude. It's just fucking joyful experience through and through.
Damn, I couldn't finish Ocarina. Maybe that's
you never finished it.
I got bored. I was like probably 13, and I just didn't know where to go next, and I stopped playing. This was like deeper into the game, like in the desert area or whatever.
To be fair, I didn't ever finish it until I owned it on 3DS when I was like 20 or 21 years old. So I can see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Like I would play in my teens, get stuck and drop it, and then come back to it like 7 years later and be like, all right, now I actually know what's going on.
Yeah. No, I definitely loved it when I finished it a few years ago. Speaking
of games that I haven't finished that are basically Zelda, Okami is fantastic, dude.
Dude, for the Black Friday in the eShop, I was hoping there would be a good sale on it, because I've been really looking to pick that up.
Yeah, it's quite fun.
Game.
It's such a task to finish, though. I have no idea how long it's
so long.
I've heard it has like at least a 30-hour campaign.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I've put in like 15 hours into it, and I've liked it, but I think I mentioned this before. Like, I feel like 15 hours is like my cap with games, at least like nowadays. So like once I put 15 hours into a game, I feel like I've pretty much gotten all the enjoyment that I can from it, and I should like move on to something else. Like, I'm sure there's still a lot that I have to see in the game that'll still probably blow me away, but like after 15 hours, I just feel like I want to move to something else, because there's so many goddamn games out there, you know?
I was feeling that a little bit, and then I went to the place where you buy moves, and I found out there's a move where you can just pee on enemies on command, and it gives you
no way.
It gives you upgrade points.
Oh shit! I don't think I ever saw that.
There's your motivation, Daniel.
Yeah, you're right. What I like about it is that it's not hard, and so like when I don't know, when I started playing it, I couldn't put it down for like the best of like a couple of weeks. I played a lot of it, and what I liked about it is that it felt like I was kind of like playing through like a wonderful fucking like visual novel type thing, right? Because like it's not hard, but like the world, it's so pretty, and like I don't know, like all your interactions with all the NPCs and everything. So it's just, I don't know. I thought it was quite relaxing because I was playing through that shit.
Yeah, it's pretty pleasant.
I did want to talk about one other game. I meant to preface even like my first comment with this message. I want to talk about this, and I'm not talking about this to like fish for sympathy. It's just like, life experiences that have happened to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people go through the same shit, and not even this or similar shit, or just hard shit in their own right. So like, I just think it's good to talk about these things. But back when I was still in the States, like the last couple of months before I had to come back, and like the date that I had to come back was like looming, and I was like sad that like I was fucking leaving everything behind, pretty much like the life that I had made for myself over there.
Mhm.
I started playing Shovel Knight, which is also a recommendation from Kyle, now that I think of it.
Yeah, I thought you would like that.
Yeah, he recommended that I played that game like a long time before I actually did it. And I don't know why it took me so long, but I started playing it, and like as soon as the first level started, as soon as like the music kicked in and I started walking to the right, I was like, yes, this is the fucking game, right? And I loved every single second of it, dude. And I think that is the game that like completely changed the way that I see video games right now, right? Like before then, games were just like kind of like a distraction or just something that I did. But like after playing Shovel Knight, dude, and everything that it made me feel because of where I was in my life at that point and whatever, like, I don't know, like it's just sort of shown me that like games can really like do shit for you other than like give you a reason to like kill time. You know what I mean? Like, I was getting really anxious, and I was pretty sad that I was gonna have to like leave the United States soon, because I had made like pretty much my best friends that I've ever made, and all that kind of stuff. Like it seemed like I had my life, like my life was going somewhere, when I was there, and then like coming back home, it just sort of felt like a weird sort of like step back. Not because, and I don't necessarily mean that it's bad. It's just like I'm back here now. I'm living at my parents' house, which I hadn't lived in my parents' house for like for like 7 years just about. And so it just felt like I was taking a step back, right? Like moving back into my parents' house and whatever. A variety of reasons, right? I was feeling weird for a variety of reasons. And so I played Shovel Knight, man. And the music is insane. The gameplay, the world design is just excellent. And there's just one stage. I don't remember, the Flying Machine, I think the stage is called.
Propeller Knight boat. Right?
Yeah. It's like on a boat that's flying. Propeller Knight. Yeah, that's right. And I remember playing this on my then girlfriend's house, because that's kind of where I was crashing during this period of my life. Everyone was like in their room, but like I wanted to play games because I was not doing anything. I didn't have a job, or I wasn't going to school or whatever, so I just wanted to play. And like I was in the living room by myself, and it was dark, and I had my laptop, and I was playing it, and I had like my headphones in, and I was playing through the stage for the first time. And the music in that stage, I think I would, without thinking it twice, I would say is my favorite song in the game. And there's just one section, there's just one screen in that stage that like everything just kind of like there's not a lot of there aren't any hazards in the screen anymore, and you can just see like in the background you can see the tower that where Shield Knight is being kept, and it's just it made me, at that moment I realized like, wow, like it's been a fucking journey. I've seen so many characters and fought so many characters, and I've bought so many power-ups, and I'm here in the second to last stage before I go to the castle, and I can see the castle in the sunset in the background of this screen. And I was like, wow, it's been a fucking journey. You know what I mean? And like with the music and everything, it just made me feel like, I don't know, like that game made me feel like, especially considering that it's like stylized after like 8-bit games. I have my older brother who pretty much introduced me to games back when I was like a lot younger. And he doesn't play video games, and he hasn't really played a lot of video games since he was a teen. He just kind of dropped it, I guess, for whatever reason. He just found other interests or what have you. But he would always talk to me about the games that he used to play when he was little, right? And like I was playing Shovel Knight, and I just couldn't help like thinking about him playing, for example, like Mega Man X, which he used to tell me was his favorite game when he was growing up. And I was playing Shovel Knight, and with the music and everything, like all the characters and all the story, and I just felt like, wow, this is what video games are for, right? Like this
Right.
game has made me feel like a fucking superhero, and it's making me feel like I want to keep going so that I can fucking save Shield Knight. And yeah, I don't know, man. I just figured that's what games are for. You know what I mean? Like making that child in you who always dreamed and who always imagined of being a superhero and who always imagined saving the world. It gives you the opportunity to feel like that. And I was like fucking 23 years old, 24 years old when I played Shovel Knight, and I felt that way, right? Like I felt like a fucking superhero, and I felt like I wanted to like rescue Shield Knight, whatever it took. You know what I mean? At that precise moment. And yeah, that was pretty much the game that like changed the way that I look at video games to this day, and I fucking love it. And I can't wait for it to come out physically on Switch because I want to own it.
Right. It's
I
super
think
cool.
when video games reach us, I mean, I think video games are often somewhat stigmatized and almost looked down upon as like, oh, you still play video games, or you spend like as an adult you spend your time playing video games. But they
Yeah.
can be such an art form, dude.
Yeah,
Their
I think people
storytelling-
discredit it.
The storytelling capabilities of video games are fucking endless. Like the amount of games I've played, or like games I've heard testimonies of that have like brought me to tears or someone else, and just like resonate on such a deep and personal level. Like it's intense,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, no, Shovel Knight at that point in my life was the exact game that I needed to play at that point in my life. You know what I mean? And it just so happened that I found it. And I just think it's weird and interesting, right? That it just felt like, yes, I needed this game at this point in my life, and I'm glad that I'm playing it. And it made me so fucking happy, you know?
I remember I was hiking with Amanda, you were roommates with at the time, Daniel.
Yeah.
One weekend, and she was like,
Yeah.
I just don't see what Daniel sees in that shovel video game. I don't get it. And it's like, I don't know. The stigma probably exists because if you don't grow up playing it, you kind of have this weird barrier of entry where you can't really get it, you know, especially for girls who didn't get to grow up playing video games because it's just not like targeted towards them as much, that
Right.
you can't really appreciate it if you never experience it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If
Go
you
ahead, go
try and break into games as, oh, did you say hold on?
No. No. Go ahead.
I think if you, regardless of what type of person you are, if you try and break into games at like an older age of like past your teens, I think one thing that I've heard multiple people say is super difficult, and I guess it also depends on what console you're playing, but like if you're taking a home console that has like a controller instead of, I mean, I think a keyboard is difficult to begin with,
Yeah.
but if you take like a controller, like the dual analog sticks, like I've seen so many people try and that aren't gamers or haven't played a lot of games try and play like Breath of the Wild, and but they just get dizzy from like trying to move him and also move the camera at the same time.
Right.
And I think that can be a very big barrier of entry.
Yeah, like even controlling. No, you're right.
And then like you're trying to remember all the different controls, and like it's just a fucking schmorg.
No, it was
Yeah, we kind of
definitely-
had the fortune of growing up in not just the beginning, like we missed the Commodore pretty much, but at the beginning of where games took off, but we're still simple enough like when we were young to grasp them easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I definitely grew up with the Super Nintendo, which is pretty
Yeah, me
early
too.
on. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about Shovel Knight that like really got to me too, right? Because it's so stylized in like the 8-bit era, that like I was playing it and like it made me feel like the dudes who were behind this game, they like games so much and they've liked them for so long too, right? They've liked them since the 8-bit era, that they put so much effort into this shit for gamers today. And I don't know, man, it's just a lot. I just have a lot of feelings towards that game. I can go on forever.
Yeah, it's interesting how much effort is put into Shovel Knight to make it look like it's old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And it looks fucking beautiful. This is
It still looks good.
Yeah. Cool. Kyle, what have we learned today, dog?
Well, have we learned you should boycott Disney, don't go see any of their movies or go to their theme
Hell
parks
yeah.
or consume
Hell
any
yeah.
of their products. And free Hong Kong.
I can stand
All
by
right.
I can stand by everything that you said. Matthew, what did we learn today?
I think we learned that video games can have a transformative impact on your life, or at least tell a narrative in a way that is impossible with any other medium, and they should be elevated to art more often than they are.
Hell yeah. I can get behind that too. Excellent. Well, we don't have anything else to talk about, or we don't have any last minute plugs. Kyle, it was a fucking pleasure to have you on today, dog. I hope your acting endeavors, if you're still pursuing those, I hope they go as well as you want them to, and with all your other like political involvement, I hope that you can make the change that you want to see in the world, man.
Here's the thing. If you are going to consume any Disney products or any Disney things that
media or whatever, yeah.
I humbly urge you, go back to Corey in the House. It's a classic.
Excellent. I love that. Yeah, that's good.
Or pirate it. I think that's the better way to do it.
You're right. It's so easy to pirate too these days.
And check out the DS game, highest rated thing on Metacritic. No joke.
The Corey in the House DS game.
Yeah.
Man, no one licensed me for that shit.
I'm sorry they didn't tell you.
You're not getting any fucking royalties? That's garbage.
Yeah, man, I gotta sue them.
Well, thanks for coming on. It was a good time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Well, as I always say, I hope everyone is happy with their life.
Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Sounds good.